There is a reason you have always felt set apart. Long before you took your first breath, before you ever opened your eyes to this world, a decision was made in heaven. God spoke your name, not as a possibility, but as a certainty. You were not born into this life by accident. You were sent, chosen, appointed for a mission that stretches beyond the walls of your own existence. And yet, being chosen has not always felt like a blessing. You have known loneliness when others were surrounded. You have faced battles that seemed to come out of nowhere. You have carried weights that others could not see, and dreams so large they felt impossible to reach. There have been seasons where it felt as if God's promise was delayed, as if heaven itself was silent. And in those moments, the question whispered in your soul, if I am chosen, why am I still waiting? But what you could not see was that the silence was not absence. It was strategy. God was moving pieces behind the scenes, aligning resources, clearing the path and preparing you for what only the chosen can carry. Because the blessing he is about to release is not ordinary. It is not a mere improvement to your life. It is a release of abundance so significant, it will shift your position, your influence, and your reach. Today, you will understand why your path has been so different. You will see how God's timing is not a delay, but a divine alignment. And you will learn the signs that your appointed season of prosperity has already begun. This is not just another message. It is confirmation. If what you are hearing already stirs something in your spirit, type, I receive, in the comments to seal this moment in faith. And if this is your first time here, subscribe now. Our mission is to reach 1,000 chosen souls of God, and your presence is part of that unfolding call, because in the next moment, you will see why heaven never forgets its chosen ones, and what happens when the time for their release finally comes. There are callings that fade with time, and there are callings that eternity itself guards. When God chooses a soul, that choice is not fragile. It is carved into the fabric of creation. It cannot be erased by failure, silenced by opposition, or diminished by delay. The calling of a chosen one remains, pulsing quietly beneath the surface of every season of life, waiting for its appointed hour to rise. From the moment you entered this world, heaven marked you, not with ink or visible signs, but with a purpose that the natural eye cannot see. It is why, even in your darkest seasons, something inside you refused to die. It is why you could not fully fit into environments that tried to mold you into something less than what you were created to be. You were born with an inner compass pointing towards something greater, and though storms have tried to throw you off course, the needle always returns to the same direction, the will of God. The calling is relentless. It shows up in moments when you try to hide. It whispers in the silence, reminding you of promises you sometimes wish you could forget, not because they are untrue, but because the waiting has been so long. And yet, while you have felt stuck, God has been moving. Every unseen preparation, every quiet shift in the atmosphere around you has been working toward one moment, the release of what was promised. This is why the chosen cannot be overlooked forever. Opportunities that seemed lost are being restored. Connections that felt impossible are being woven together. The doors that stayed shut for years are unlocking, not because of chance, but because heaven has decided the time is now. And when heaven decides it is time, no force on earth can stand in the way. But this movement rarely begins with a public display. It starts in the shadows, in the unseen alignments that slowly gather into something undeniable. You are about to see those alignments in your own life. God's greatest works often begin in silence. While you were praying, wondering if heaven had heard you, the answer was already in motion, moving quietly, weaving through places you could not see, touching hearts you did not know, setting the stage for blessings you could not yet imagine. The silence was never a sign of neglect. It was a sign of strategy. When God moves in your favor, he does it with precision. He shifts people into position, sometimes removing those who would have drained your blessing before it could grow. He opens opportunities in the hearts of others, long before your name ever reaches their ears. And perhaps the most beautiful part, he arranges timing so perfectly that when the blessing arrives, it fits into your life like the final piece of a puzzle. You may look at your life right now and see no signs of change, but beneath the surface, there is movement. The waters are stirring in places you cannot yet touch. The connections are forming. The resources are gathering. And the moment will come when all of it rises to meet you at once, and you will see that what felt like years of waiting was actually the careful construction of your breakthrough. So if while hearing these words you feel something in your spirit, that quiet certainty that God is already arranging things for you, I want you to declare it in faith right now. Type "I trust His timing" in the comments, not as empty words, but as a seal over your heart that you believe even in the unseen. Because once you begin to notice the signs of this hidden movement, you will realize your season of abundance is not approaching. It has already begun. Before the blessing reaches your hands, it will first touch your spirit. God does not send provision without preparation, and one of the clearest signs that your season has begun is a shift deep within you. It may feel like a quiet confidence you cannot explain, a knowing that something is coming, even when the natural world shows no evidence. You begin to notice small but undeniable changes. Prayers you once felt were hitting a wall now feel as though they are heard instantly. Opportunities you had given up on resurface unexpectedly. People you never imagined would cross your path appear at the exact moment you need them. Even obstacles that once stood like giants suddenly seem to move with little effort. Sometimes the signs come in the form of peace, the kind that doesn't make sense considering your current circumstances. Other times they come as a divine stirring, a sudden urgency to prepare, to get your house in order, to be ready for something larger than you have carried before. And often they come through small, unexpected blessings, a financial door opening, a new connection, a piece of information that leads you forward. These are not random. They are God's way of letting you know the river is already flowing in your direction. The first drops of rain are falling, and the downpour is not far behind. You are not just entering a season of increase. You are stepping into a divine appointment that was scheduled long before you were born. The signs are the proof that heaven's timing and your readiness have finally met. And when those two meet, there is only one question left to answer. Why now? Why has God chosen this exact moment to release what you have been waiting for? God's timing is not our timing. We measure life in hours, days, and years, but heaven measures in alignment, and alignment cannot be rushed. When God chooses someone, He does not simply prepare the blessing. He prepares the person. Because a blessing released too soon can become a burden, and God will never hand you something meant to elevate you if in that moment it could destroy you. The waiting was not punishment. It was protection. There were seasons when you thought you were ready, but your surroundings were not. The people in your life at that time may have drained the blessing before it took root. Your own heart may have still been healing, still learning to discern, still being refined by fire. God was building strength in you, the kind that comes from battles you thought you would never survive. And while you felt delayed, heaven was aligning the details. The right people, the right opportunities, the right positioning. There were contracts being written in rooms you've never entered, doors being built that would open only for you, and resources being preserved until the exact moment you could carry them with wisdom. Now, that moment has come. The blessing you have prayed for is no longer in the distance. It is standing at the threshold. The flow is ready to be released. Not because you finally convinced God to act, but because He has been waiting for the fullness of time. But with the release comes something just as important as the blessing itself: the responsibility to carry it well. Because wealth in the hands of the chosen is never just for comfort, it is for kingdom purpose. When God places abundance in the hands of His chosen, It is never an accident, and it is never without purpose. Kingdom wealth is not like ordinary wealth. It carries the weight of heaven's assignment. It is provision with a mission, a resource with a destination. And the one who carries it becomes both a steward and a vessel, entrusted to move it where God directs. This is why the chosen walk a different path. Your abundance is not just for personal comfort, not just to erase debts or fulfill dreams, though those things may come. It is a tool for building what God has planned, for opening doors that cannot be opened by human effort alone. It is meant to restore, to uplift, to create opportunities that multiply beyond your lifetime. But with this blessing comes a test. Will you guard it, or will you waste it? Will you allow it to strengthen your calling, or will you let it distract you from it? The Bible speaks clearly. To whom much is given, much will be required. This means your abundance will ask questions of you that scarcity never did. It will test your discipline, your faith, and your loyalty to the one who gave it. God did not choose you for wealth because you could spend it well. He chose you because you could invest it eternally. He knows that when He places it in your
hands, you will pour it into soil that produces more light, more hope, more life. And every time you do, the flow will not diminish. It will grow. But before the abundance reaches you in its fullness, there is almost always one final stage.
A stage that feels like loss, but in reality, it is the greatest preparation for gain. Before the promise manifests in your hands, God will make room for it. And making room often means removing what cannot go with you into the next season. For many of God's chosen, this stage feels like loss. Relationships suddenly ending, opportunities closing, routines being disrupted, and doors that once seemed secure swinging shut without warning. It is in these moments that questions rise. If God is blessing me, why am I losing so much? But the truth is, you are not losing, you are being cleared. The same God who gives is the God who removes, and His removals are as intentional as His gifts. He will not pour new oil into vessels already contaminated. He will not place sacred resources into environments that would waste them. Sometimes, what He removes is a person whose influence would drain your blessing. Sometimes it is a habit that has been quietly robbing your strength. And sometimes it is simply the weight of the past, mindsets, fears, and memories that have no place in your future. The purging is not a rejection of you, but a protection of what is coming to you. It is the pruning of a tree that is about to bear more fruit than ever before. The process is sharp, but it is necessary. Without it, the blessing could not take root. And here's the mystery. The purging is often the final movement before the release. It is heaven making space for the promise to land without obstruction. So when things start falling away, resist the urge to cling. Let go, because what God is bringing is greater than anything He is asking you to leave behind. And once the space has been made, the next step is inevitable. God will test if you are ready to guard what He is about to place in your hands. God's blessings are never careless. Before He places kingdom resources in your hands, He ensures they will be protected, multiplied, and used for His purpose. And so, before the abundance is released in its fullness, there will always be tests. Not to harm you, but to prove you are ready to carry what others could not. These tests are rarely dramatic. They often appear as small, almost invisible moments that reveal the posture of your heart. An unexpected amount of money comes your way, not the full promise yet, but enough to see what you will do with it. A person in need crosses your path when you least expect it, and you must choose whether to give quietly or turn away. An opportunity presents itself that could bring quick gain, but at the cost of your integrity. God watches these moments closely because they reveal your readiness more than your words ever could. If you are faithful with little, you can be trusted with much. If you can protect a single seed, you can be trusted with the harvest. Sometimes the test comes through delay. The blessing is prepared, but God asks you to wait just a little longer. It is in these waiting moments that impatience tries to whisper compromise into your ear. But the chosen who endure without breaking prove that their loyalty is to God, not just to His gifts. Passing these tests accelerates the process. It's as if heaven says, now they are ready. Now the flow can be released without fear of loss. And when that happens, everything begins to move faster than you could have imagined. When the season of waiting ends, it does not end quietly. For years, it may have felt like nothing was moving, like every step forward was followed by another delay. But once God declares, it is time, the pace changes instantly. It begins subtly. A phone call you weren't expecting opens a door you've prayed about for years. A conversation that seemed ordinary turns into a divine connection that shifts your direction. Opportunities you used to chase start coming to you. And then, all at once, the flow becomes a flood. This is the acceleration phase, a time when blessings converge so quickly that you almost feel breathless. The same hands that once felt empty now struggle to keep up with everything being placed in them. It is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to match the urgency of your mission. For when God releases resources tied to kingdom purpose, He releases them at the pace required to fulfill that purpose. But acceleration is not without its challenges. The speed that delivers the blessing can also test your focus. With so many open doors, the temptation is to step through all of them. But not every door in this season is for you. Some are distractions dressed as opportunities, designed to scatter your energy. In acceleration, you must guard your clarity. You must move with the same intentionality you did in the waiting, letting God direct not only what comes into your life, but where it goes. Because this phase is not the finish line. It is the bridge between promise and fulfillment. And as the blessings multiply, a deeper question emerges. What impact will this abundance have beyond your own life? That answer reveals the ripple effect that God intends for every chosen one to carry. When God entrusts His chosen with abundance, it is never meant to stop with them. Kingdom blessings are designed to overflow, to extend far beyond the boundaries of a single life. Your obedience in this season will not only change your future, it will send waves into the lives of people you may never meet. At first, you may think the blessing is only for relief, to lift the weight of debt, to restore what was stolen, to finally breathe after years of pressure. But as you walk with it, you begin to see a greater picture. That provision in your hands can restore a family's stability. It can open education for a child who might have been locked in the cycle of lack. It can plant ministries, fund missions, and ignite dreams that would have otherwise died in silence. This is the ripple effect of a chosen one's obedience. It is the unseen multiplication that happens when you place what God has given you back into His hands for direction. Every seed you sow into the soil He shows you creates a harvest that outlives you. Long after your name is no longer spoken, the results of your stewardship will still be breathing life into generations. And here lies the mystery. The more you allow the blessing to move through you, the stronger the flow toward you becomes. Heaven sees that you will not hoard it, that you will not let it grow stagnant, and so it entrusts you with more. The river widens because it knows it has a faithful channel. But with greater reach comes greater attention, and not all attention is pure. There will be forces, both seen and unseen, that will try to stop, drain, or redirect the flow God has given you. This is why every chosen one must learn the art of protecting their blessing. When God releases abundance into the life of His chosen, the enemy takes notice. The flow you carry is not just material, it is spiritual, and it carries the power to advance the kingdom in ways that threaten darkness. This is why, in the very season of greatest blessing, you may also face the greatest warfare. Attacks will not always be obvious. Sometimes they come dressed as friendship, opportunity, or advice. People may approach you with smiling faces, but hidden intentions, hoping to drain your resources or distract your focus. Other times, the attack is internal, sudden waves of fear, doubt, or confusion that try to make you question whether you are truly ready for what God has given you. Guarding the flow begins with discernment. It is the ability to look beyond appearances and ask God, "Is this from you?" before you commit your time, resources, or trust. It requires building boundaries, not out of coldness, but out of wisdom. You're not called to give to every request, to invest in every idea, or to welcome every voice into your inner circle. Your blessing is holy, and what is holy must be protected. Prayer and obedience are your greatest defenses. When you remain aligned with God's instructions, you stay in the safe current of His will, where the enemy cannot redirect the flow. And when you resist the urge to handle everything in your own strength, you give God room to fight the battles you cannot see. The chosen who protect their flow will never see it run dry. In fact, the more fiercely you guard it, the more heaven will entrust to you. Because God knows that in your hands, the blessing will remain pure, powerful, and unstoppable. And this brings us to the final truth. The moment where the journey from waiting to release comes to its purpose, stepping fully into your anointing. From the very first breath you took, your life has carried the fingerprint of God. You were never just another soul passing through this world. You were chosen. Every valley you walked through, every storm you survived, every tear you shed, was part of a preparation that only heaven could orchestrate. And now you stand on the threshold of the fulfillment of what God whispered over you before you were even born. The waiting was not wasted. It forged you. It built strength you did not know you had. It refined your faith until it could not be shaken. And now, God's timing and your readiness have aligned, unlocking a flow of blessing and opportunity that will not only change your life, but touch countless others through you. But hear this. This is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of your stewardship. The abundance you are stepping into is not simply a reward. It is a tool, a weapon, a bridge for kingdom work that will echo into eternity. What you choose to do with it will define the legacy you leave behind. Do not shrink back now. Do not second-guess the God who brought you this far. Step fully into your anointing, knowing that you were trusted with this because you are capable of carrying it with integrity, wisdom, and faith. Let your life be a testimony that when God chooses, He equips, when He calls, He provides, and when He releases, nothing can stand in the way. If this message has resonated with you, type "I step into my anointing" in the comments as a declaration of faith. And if you have not yet subscribed, do it now. Our mission is to reach 1,000 chosen souls of God, and your presence is a vital part of that calling. Remember this: you were chosen before the foundations of the world, shaped through fire, and released for such a time as this. The flow will not run dry. The mission will not fail, and your life will bear the unmistakable mark of one who was chosen and answered the call.